Ladies and gentlemen, imagine standing alone in a room full of people, everybody laughing, talking, connecting, but you, despite being surrounded, feel utterly alone. You watch others effortlessly bond, make memories, and share their lives, and yet you find yourself in the quietest corner of your own world. People might look at you and wonder, why is she alone? Is something wrong with her? But what if I told you that being alone doesn't mean something is wrong? What if, in fact, it means you are finally learning how to be whole? In a society obsessed with connections, friendships, and being liked, there's a woman who dares to stand apart. A woman with no friends. And while most people might pity her or view her as an outcast, I see something different. I see strength. I see wisdom. I see the quiet power of someone who has learned the art of choosing herself. She chose peace over fake friendships because she was tired of pretending. Tired of smiling in rooms where she didn't feel safe. Tired of being surrounded by people who clapped when it was convenient and disappeared when it mattered. She realized that not everyone who calls you friend actually shows up like one. The laughter felt empty. The conversations felt shallow. The connections were built on convenience, not care. So one by one, she began letting them go, not with anger, but with clarity. She stopped responding to people who only remembered her when they needed something. She stopped entertaining those who constantly competed with her instead of celebrating her. She distanced herself from those who talked about loyalty but never practiced it. And with every step back, she felt lighter. There was no dramatic fallout, no messy goodbyes, just silence. And in that silence, she found peace. It was in the quiet that she started hearing her own voice again. She no longer felt the pressure to explain herself, to be agreeable, or to fit in. She stopped being drained by fake smiles and empty conversations. Her life slowed down, and in that stillness, she began to bloom. She had more time for herself, more energy to invest in her own growth, more space to heal. People may look at her and wonder why she's so distant, but they don't know the cost of the friendships she left behind. They don't know the weight of the betrayal she carried. She chose peace, not because she gave up on people, but because she finally chose herself. And in choosing herself, she discovered a deeper happiness, the kind that doesn't depend on anyone else showing up. The kind that feels like home. Her solitude is strength, not sadness. People look at her and assume she's lonely, that something must be missing from her life, but what they don't understand is that she's never felt more whole. Her solitude isn't a void, it's a sanctuary. It's where she found herself after being broken, where she learned to breathe again without needing someone to complete her. She no longer measures her worth by how many people surround her, but by how deeply she knows herself. She wakes up without the noise of expectations. There's no one pulling her in different directions, no pressure to perform or fit in. She enjoys her mornings in silence, sipping coffee while reading books that nourish her mind. She takes long walks alone, not because there's no one to join her, but because she cherishes the clarity that comes when the world quiets down. In solitude, she's not empty. She's full of self-awareness, dreams, ideas, and healing. She's not hiding from the world. She's reclaiming her space in it. While others chase constant company to escape themselves, she has made peace with who she is. Her solitude has sharpened her instincts, deepened her understanding, and taught her to trust her own voice. She no longer needs validation to feel valuable. She knows her worth, and she guards it fiercely. There's power in a woman who can be alone and still thrive. She doesn't beg for attention or settle for crumbs. She's not cold, she's clear. She's not bitter, she's boundaried. Her solitude is not a symptom of sadness, it's a reflection of her strength. And though the world may misjudge her silence, she knows exactly what it took to get here. And that is something no one can take away. She stopped chasing people who didn't value her because she finally understood that love, respect, and loyalty should never have to be begged for. She used to give her all, her time, her energy, her heart, to people who only gave her the bare minimum. She waited for texts that never came, tried to keep conversations alive that were already dead, and held on to friendships that treated her as an option. She thought if she just tried harder, cared more, gave more, they would see her worth. But they didn't. And one day she got tired. She got tired of always initiating, tired of explaining herself, tired of wondering what she did wrong, when the truth was simple. They didn't care enough. So she made a silent promise to herself. No more chasing. No more watering relationships that left her emotionally thirsty. No more overextending herself for people who wouldn't even meet her halfway. When she let go, something amazing happened. She stopped shrinking to fit in spaces where she was never meant to belong. She stopped doubting herself. She started choosing herself instead of waiting to be chosen. And in that choice, she found power. Now, her circle is smaller, but it's genuine. She doesn't fear solitude anymore because she knows what it feels like to be surrounded and still feel unseen. She's done proving her worth to people who are blind to it. If someone wants to be in her life, they'll show up. They'll make an effort. She's no longer afraid to walk away from anyone who doesn't. She's not bitter. She's wise. She's not closed off. She's selective. Because she finally realized that chasing people never brings peace, but choosing herself always does. And in that quiet self-respect, she found the freedom she had been searching for all along. She built strong boundaries and self-respect because she got tired of being taken for granted. For too long, she allowed people to overstep, to speak to her in ways that bruised her spirit, to make demands without giving anything in return. She used to say yes when she wanted to say no, afraid of being seen as difficult or selfish. But each time she silenced her needs for the comfort of others, a part of her spirit dimmed, and eventually she realized that being liked by everyone wasn't worth losing herself. So she started drawing the line, not to push people away, but to protect the peace she fought so hard to find. She stopped explaining her choices to people who never really listened. She stopped feeling guilty for putting herself first. She stopped allowing people to treat her like a backup plan, a convenience, or an emotional dumping ground. The more she respected her own time, energy, and worth, the more she attracted people who did the same. It wasn't easy. Some people called her cold. Some walked away when they realized they could no longer control her. But she didn't flinch. She knew that the people who truly loved and respected her would honor her boundaries, not be offended by them. Now, she doesn't tolerate chaos in her space. She doesn't second-guess herself to accommodate others. She moves with quiet confidence, knowing she doesn't need to argue for her worth. She simply enforces it. Her boundaries are no longer walls of fear, but gates of protection. And her self-respect isn't arrogance. It's a deep understanding that she deserves to be treated with dignity. She is not who she used to be. She's stronger now, softer with herself, fierce with her standards, and that shift changed everything. She found fulfillment in her own company the moment she stopped searching for it in others. There was a time when she felt the pressure to constantly be surrounded by people, to fill every silence with conversation and every weekend with plans. But the more she chased external validation, the more she felt disconnected from herself. She realized that being around people didn't always mean being understood, and that sometimes the loneliest place was in a crowded room. So she pulled back, not out of bitterness, but out of necessity. She needed to breathe, to listen to her own thoughts, to sit with her own feelings without distraction. At first, the silence felt strange, but slowly it became sacred. She began to enjoy the quiet moments, the mornings spent in reflection, the evenings with her favorite book, the long walks where she spoke to no one but herself. And in those moments, she discovered something beautiful. She liked who she was becoming. She no longer needed constant interaction to feel alive. Her joy didn't come from parties or attention, but from purpose and presence. She filled her life with what nourished her soul: creativity, peace, learning, healing. She discovered hobbies she'd forgotten, passions she never had time to explore. Her days weren't empty, they were intentional. People asked if she was lonely. They couldn't understand how a woman could be so content alone. But what they didn't see was the richness within her, the calm, the clarity, the quiet confidence. She no longer feared solitude because it no longer meant emptiness. It meant freedom. Now she walks through life with grace, knowing she is whole on her own, her company is enough, her presence is complete, and in choosing herself, she discovers the truest kind of happiness. She is not lonely, she is powerful. People often confuse solitude with weakness, assuming that being alone equals being empty or abandoned. But she knows something different. Her solitude is not a sign of loss, it's a testament to her strength. She has learned that loneliness is not about physical presence, but emotional fulfillment, and she has found abundance within herself. She doesn't need constant validation from others because she understands her worth. She is the architect of her own happiness, the creator of her own joy. Where others see a woman alone, she sees a woman who has chosen her own company, her own peace. She is not afraid to spend time in silence, to reflect, to grow. In her quiet moments, she finds the space to heal, to dream, to recharge, and to reconnect with the deepest parts of herself. Her power comes from the confidence that she doesn't need external approval to feel complete. She no longer fears the judgment of others, nor does she need to explain her decisions. She has learned to trust herself, her instincts, and her voice. She walks through the world with an unshakable belief in her own capabilities, knowing that she doesn't need anyone to tell her what she can or can't. She has proven to herself time and time again that she is more than enough. Her strength doesn't come from the people around her, but from the unbreakable foundation she has built within. She knows that she is her greatest ally, and with that knowledge comes a quiet, radiant power. She is not lonely, she is liberated. And that liberation is where her true power lies. You see, this woman is not lonely. She is powerful. She's powerful because she has learned to fill her life with the things that truly matter. She no longer seeks approval from anyone, and she doesn't apologize for it. She knows her worth, and that alone is enough. As we explore the life of this woman with no friends, ask yourself, what do you value more, quantity or quality? Are you brave enough to let go of the people who no longer contribute to your growth? Are you strong enough to stand alone and trust that the right people will come when the time is right? In the end, this woman teaches us that the greatest friendship we can ever have is the one we have with ourselves. And once we learn to honor that, we don't need anything or anyone else to define us.